I've been paying serious attention to security affairs for probably about 60 years now.
Mm,
Uh, and over the course of those 60 years, I would say I've learned two lessons that really matter in terms of thinking how the United States should approach foreign policy. Uh, and the first is I think that it's very important to understand the limits of military power. And I think that many people inside the United States at the elite level do not fully appreciate the limits of military power. I'm somebody who spent 10 years of my life in the American military. I went to West Point, and I am a realist, and realists believe that the balance of power really matters. So it's not like I don't think that military power matters. It does matter. But I think it's very important for any country to understand the limits of power. And I think if you don't understand the limits of power, you get yourself into trouble. And this is what happened to the United States when I was young in Vietnam. It's what happened in Afghanistan. It's what happened in Iraq. And it's what's now happened in Iran.
mm,
Uh, Donald Trump thought that the United States, certainly working with the Israelis, was in a position where it could use its awesome military power to get the Iranians to surrender and to do what the Americans wanted. And here we have a situation where, if anything, Iran won the war. And this is just another illustration to me of the limits of military power. And I think that the United States, here on its 250th birthday, should pay attention to the very important argument that you can only do so much with military power. The second thing I've learned over the years that I think is very relevant for the United States today is that it is not a good idea to run around the world and interfere in the domestic politics of other countries. It's not a good idea to engage in social engineering. I think there's no question that the United States is in many ways an admirable society. It has some deep-seated flaws, for example.
mm,
But I personally think that liberal democracy, when it works, is a wonderful political system. But I think you get yourself into a whole heck of a lot of trouble when you go into other countries and you try to facilitate regime change, you try to do social engineering, and you try to make those countries look like the United States. If you go back to the Bush Doctrine, which was formulated right before we invaded Iraq, that was on March 19th of 2003. Uh, the Bush Doctrine basically called for democratizing the entire Middle East, including Iran and Syria. Uh, it's very important to understand that Iraq was just the first stop on the railroad line. We were going to bring social change, political change to all sorts of other countries. Of course, we never got beyond Iraq at the time, but later on in 2026, we decided that we were going to foment regime change in Iran. And by the way, we were engaged in regime change in Syria and helped bring down Assad. My basic point here is that the United States should get out of the business of regime change. It should get out of the business of social engineering, and it should understand the limits of military power. And you asked the question, how does this apply to the Middle East? As I've tried to make clear in my previous comments here, I think it applies in spades to the Middle East. It applied to Iraq, it applied to Syria, it applied to Iran, and other countries in the region as well. The United States should understand that using military power in the Middle East should be kept at a minimum. And number two, we should let people inside those countries decide for themselves what kind of political system they want to have, just like we would expect them to allow us to have the kind of political system we would like to have. And then get out of the business of social engineering. So those would be sort of the two lessons I've learned over the years that I think should be put up in bright lights on America's 250th birthday.